What have you been playing, dude?
The Last Guardian.
Ooh.
Um, Quite a magnificent game, I gotta
Mm,
say. I've got some gripes with it, which I'm going to get into shortly, but it's same team as Shadow of the Colossus
hmm
and Ico or Eco,
hmm
however you want to say it. And I can't remember the guy's name. It's like Fumitsu Ueda or something, the guy that's the director and the sort of
Right.
mastermind behind these games. But really good, extremely artsy. First impressions are very similar to, my first impressions with Shadow of the Colossus. It's got that kind of sense of loneliness, except this time you have a companion with you
hmm
versus just the horse. You have Trico, who's like this giant dragon cat-like creature.
hmm
Can't really figure out what he is.
Yeah.
He's quite majestic because his the way that they animated him actually is interesting. Like his feathers and his fur sort of blow in the wind constantly, no matter where you are. So he looks very much alive.
hmm
But yeah, it's interesting. Basically, to sum it up, you play as a small young boy who's probably about 10, 12 years old at most. He has weird sort of tattoo like images all over his body, and he can't figure out why.
hmm
Sort of wakes up in this sort of nest with Trico, who is wounded with like I think it's like a spear or a stake in its side.
Okay.
And basically, for the first hour of the game, you're having to sort of coax Trico to adapt to you and adapt to the fact that you're trying to help him.
hmm
So you remove the spear after like feeding it a bunch of like wooden barrels that are glowing butterflies. I don't know what's in the barrels, but you just have to drop or throw them at Trico and he'll eat them. But it's this sort of idea that you would have with, say, finding a stray cat or stray dog. You've got to take it easy at first, and it takes like, a couple days or whatever to get this animal used to you. So that's kind of the first stage of the game.
hmm
And I'm so early on into it, even though I've played quite a bit, that I still don't really understand like what the real like sort of plot or premise is. Like I don't really understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, but I can tell you that I'm basically nursing this animal back to health and also creating a sort of extreme bond with it as well.
Mm.
And that's essentially what you do. You just sort of traverse this really beautiful world, and it's very majestic. It's sort of foggy and windy, and there's birds flying around, butterflies, kind of, again, the same sort of atmosphere that Shadow creates,
Right.
but just a little bit different. And sense of scope is similar. Everything's very large. You feel very small. So it creates that sense of just a very sort of open, large world, which is really cool.
Okay.
And you can climb on Trico. You can interact with him. You can call for him. You can pet him when he gets like angry. You can kind of calm him down by jumping on his back and rubbing like his neck or his head. And different areas that you rub him, he'll have a different reaction. So it's just very vague. Like the game doesn't really tell you that much. It comes up with little prompts here and there that say to interact with Trico, hit triangle, but
hmm
it's just got that same quality that Shadow did, where a lot of it you just have to figure it out on your own. And there were definitely quite a few moments where I was just like, I have absolutely no idea where to go and what to do right now. And I had to go on YouTube at least a couple times already and look up what to do in certain areas. And I'm glad I did, dude, because once I figured it out, I was like, there's no way I would have figured this out on my own.
Yeah.
And for example, I was at this sort of cliff where there was nowhere to go besides just basically jumping off the cliff and killing myself. So I was like, what do I do? And Trico's just wandering around making all these noises, and I'm like, this is really frustrating. And like now I'm wasting time because, as you and I know, our time is valuable. We can't just be trying to solve a puzzle for an hour. That hour is precious for us.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
true.
went on YouTube. I looked up what I had to do, and you had to sort of coax Trico over to this weird wall that I kind of ignored, and you had to jump on him. And then once you're on him, you have to wait like 3 minutes, and then he jumps over the wall. And I'm like, what? Why would have I just randomly done that?
It's very
So
obtuse.
yeah, it's obtuse, it's vague. I get it. That's kind of the sort of idea that they're going for, I guess, and I can appreciate that. But at the same time, I found myself quite frustrated
hmm
at times because some of the tasks and some of the things that you have to do with Trico are just extremely tedious.
Yeah. I actually have a copy of this game, and I've started it twice. I want to say I never got very far, I remember like trying to figure out how to get him through the caves, like, and I think I spent like 2 hours struggling, and I stopped for the evening, and I just never went back. And I always wanted to spend some time with this game because it feels like it should be a very special game, much like Shadow of the Colossus was.
Hmm.
But I just never took the time with it because it just never hooked me. You know, we've talked about in the past games that you need to like grab a hold of you and hook you right from the get go, and
Hmm.
I don't think I've just given it enough time and patience to really let it do its thing.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. This game is a game of patience, really.
Mm-hmm.
There's many times that I just wanted to say, you know what? Fuck this, man. I'm not making any progress. Like, this game's bad.
Yeah.
And I started getting like negative and cynical about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, you know what? Let me just fire up Jedi Fallen Order because like I really want to play that, and it's probably not suffering from these control issues and the obtuseness, if that's even
Mm.
a word. And I kind of just persevered and kept with it, and I actually made some really nice progress last night, but not without its tedious moments and not without its frustrations. The controls are kind of bad. They're kind of bad. I'm sugarcoating it because I really enjoy a lot of the game, but god damn, dude, there are many moments where you just are sort of flopping around and the boy's not really doing what you want it to do, and then the camera's getting all fucked up.
Is it
Um,
glitchy too?
it's not glitchy. There's nothing like broken in the game, but the camera definitely needs work, and the controls are just kind of sluggish and just
Mm.
not really that responsive. Shadow had the same problem, except this time it seems worse. And it just makes me fantasize about games like Bayonetta, where like the controls are just absolute perfection.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, any button you press instantly, everything is reacting the way you want it to. So um, it's hard to get past that, and there are definitely some people that have given up on these sorts of games for that reason.
Yeah, I could see that being kind of a deal breaker, you know?
For some, yeah. I mean, trust me, I have a lot of patience, but I have limits. And like I said, if I'm struggling with something for like an hour plus, um, I mean, it's hard not to just be like, fuck it,
Yeah.
and just like delete the game, uninstall it, or just go back to it later. And then we all know that later is generally about a year.
Yeah.
So,
if at
you know,
all.
no, it's funny, dude. Like, I'll tell you something funny. On Saturday, I was sitting there playing it. I was getting really frustrated. And in my head, I was like, you know what? I'm beating this game today. Clearly didn't happen. I ended up having dinner. I had a lot of wine, and I didn't go back to it. I was just like, I just need to give this game a break right now.
How much time have you put into it?
At least, I would say like at least like 3 to 4 hours,
Mm. Do you know how long
maybe
it is?
more. Um, According to how long to beat last time I looked, I thought it was 15. But I've seen a lot of people on YouTube finish it in just over 5 hours. So, I'd like it to be about a 5 to 6 hour game. I don't know if it really needs to be 12 to 15.
Yeah, it looks like somewhere between 12 and 20, depending on how much of a completionist you are.
Yeah, and I feel like the reason why it's at that sort of timestamp or time mark is because of the controls being so
Mm.
bad. I
Yeah.
think that the controls and the puzzles and some of the vagueness of the game is allowing people to play this game longer than it should be played.
Yeah.
So I guess that's one criticism I have towards it. But from a more positive outlook, the game is gorgeous. The soundtrack is mesmerizing. It's very orchestral, very sort of sweeping, kind of emotional. I guess you can kind of compare it to, I don't know, like Legends of the Fall mixed with like American Beauty.
Hmm.
It's got that sort of really sort of big orchestral sound, but at the same time, there's a lot of emotion there that you
Yeah.
would find in American Beauty. So I don't know, man. It's great. Soundtrack's great. Visuals are excellent. The boy and Trico, the attention to detail is pretty tremendous.
The boy.
Um, the boy, yeah, in the direction of deer. Um, I thought about that randomly recently. I don't know why,
Oh
but
man.
yeah, no, it's a gorgeous game. It's
Yeah.
incredibly artsy. It kind of looks like a watercolor painting come to life that you're controlling. So I really dig that.
Yeah.
And I really am curious to finish it because apparently it's a very emotional ending, and I'd like to see where this bond goes between myself and Trico, because it's building and
Hmm.
it's getting better.